Hello, and thank you for stopping by Applicata Biblia. My name is Mark, and again, thank you so much for stopping for a moment. I just wanted to talk about something. I don't even have notes on this, but it's something that so many of these things I think about. What would I want to say about it? And so I just kind of go off the cuff. So if I trip over some of my words, you know why now. But I just wanted to talk about studying the Bible. It's so important to our lives, and most of us don't realize that because we have busy lives. We have lots to do. Maybe you're a mom or dad, or maybe you're not. Maybe you just have to work all the time, and you just don't seem to have any time. And if you were going to study the Bible, you would it's like, I'm so tired when I'm done at work. What am I going to do? So let me just say this. In the Old Testament, when God is talking to his people, they are a big nation by this time, and he tells them, and I'm paraphrasing, he basically tells them, you need to repeat this law that I'm giving you all the time. You need to put it on your doorpost. In other words, write little things out and put it on your doorpost. You need to put it on your forehead. You need to think about it when you're waking up. You need to think about it when you're going to sleep, right? Like praying and doing that kind of thing. When you're keeping contact with God. Paul says, pray without ceasing. And what that means is keep God as your focus. And there's no better way than to get into the Word of God. And so I'm going to have more on that subject, but let me just give you the why about this. And first and foremost, please don't first think, well, that means I'm going to have to give up something else. Because it's not about what you're giving up. It's about what you're getting. And what you're going to get out of it is a better understanding of who God is and why he loves you. Why it is like a father, even though he's a God, but like a father, he loves you. He's like a father has a son or daughter and sends one of his other sons to go get that son or daughter and says, you're going to die in the process, but go do it anyway. And the son says, okay. And he goes and gets you. That's how much he wants you to be a part of his kingdom. So studying about who he is really important. So there's a couple of few things. I've already made one video about one of the things you can download onto your computer that'll just help you miles and miles and miles towards study. But why should you study? Because, again, you're going to get a clearer understanding of how the Bible works and why it is that God did what he did. So I would suggest, if you feel like you're strapped for time, and I get it. I get that. Believe me, I get that. I happen to be retired, so I'm blessed in that sense. Just you can block out 5 minutes, just 10 minutes. Do 10 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes is like, it takes you 5 minutes to get your book open. Block out 10 minutes and use a timer if you want, and just start to read. Okay, you have to read first. Maybe it's, pick a book, maybe one of the books, and just read it. And read, 10 minutes a day. Or maybe get an audio recording of the book and just listen to it. Okay? And then when you're done doing that, the next step is to study it. Reading it is good. You just read it for your own pleasure to see the greatness of God and who he is. Then the question is, what do I do next? Well, the question is, you need to answer the W's and the H, right? The who, what, when, where, and why of all of these things. And you'll find that this is way deeper than anything you've ever done. One of the issues is that the Bible is translated from other languages, Aramaic and Greek, or Hebrew and Greek. So it's really important that you understand that. And in the next one, I'm going to give you a tool to help you with that. But when you start doing that, you always start to realize, if you're like me, oh yeah, this isn't, the 20th century or the 21st century. This was 2,000 years ago. And these people were a lot different in the sense that their lives were completely different. And so one of the things that's really helpful is to understand how they lived and what they thought, because as a culture, they're thinking specific things. And so it's important to get into all of that and understand all the nuances about it, because that's what helps to bring it to life. It just is amazing sometimes when you realize some of the things that these people were doing in their life for the Word of God. Like when you get to, think about this for a second. When you get to the New Testament, those were 12 men plus the church. There was about 120 people in that first church, right, in Jerusalem. Basically changes the world. And a lot of them were probably losing their livelihoods. They were probably being ostracized by the people that didn't like them, the people in power. But they did it anyway. And when you put that realization of the who, what, when, where, and why, it just opens up a lot more things to learn. So those are the kinds of things that are involved with study. Ask questions. We read through things very quickly a lot of times and we think we got it. But there's a lot of times when we should have a question about it, right? Isn't that right? We read it and all of a sudden, what is that? It's like I just read about countenance. Do you know what countenance is? What does it mean? Maybe I should look that word up. Look up the Hebrew word, and in the next one I'll show you where you can find all that stuff. And all these little things will start to add up, and it starts to show us our purpose and our direction in life, and it's all pointed towards God. That's my conclusion, and I'm pretty sure that would be your conclusion, but it takes some effort. So I really want to encourage you to get into a habit of not just reading, but then do some study. Be ready to ask questions. And if you're already a Christian, you should be asking questions now. When somebody tells you something, when your preacher tells you this is what you need to believe, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But test it. Look it up. Write down the verses that he's talking about and look it up and see for yourself. Don't just take his word for it. Why would you do that? This is your soul. You're responsible for it. Okay, enough of that. So that's my encouragement for you today. Just start small. You don't have to get into hours and hours of study, although you may end up doing that anyway. So thank you again. Thank you for coming by the channel, and we'll see you later.